So this year, I had this whole YouTube project planned out where I would be noting down interesting headlines and trends throughout the year, and then at the end of the year, I would do this recap video for 2026. Nothing super original, but I figured I could put my own twist on it. Except January happened. And honestly, this month has been absolutely chaotic, and not gonna lie, kinda concerning. And I figured I can't really just sit on this month till December. Like, if I wanted to summarize the vibe of this whole month, this video would probably do the job. So anyways, jokes aside, here's January 2026. Now, quick disclaimer before we get into it. I usually don't get really political on this channel, but given everything that's been happening this month, this video is going to be a bit of an exception. So if you get easily offended by political commentary, this video is probably not the one for you. Also, along those lines, this video doesn't really accurately portray my entire political leanings or biases. It's more of how I'm feeling right now in the moment with everything that's happening in the world. With that being said, let's get into it. So let's start at the start of the month with some crazy headline that we all saw. So on January 3rd, the United States launched a military operation in Venezuela. Not a humanitarian mission and not a peacekeeping effort, but rather an actual military strike. And US forces then captured the president of Venezuela and his wife, and they brought them to New York to face trial for drug trafficking charges, which we'll get into that in a second. And then Trump held a press conference from his private resort in Florida, where he stated that US oil companies will be moving into Venezuela with military backup, and then the US will take the proceeds from the oil for themselves and also Venezuela, whatever that means. And also that Trump said he's not afraid of boots on the ground and is prepared to launch a second, larger attack if needed. Cool, so we're just doing regime changes again. Out loud this time. Cool. Sounds great. And the wildest part for me is that Trump, before doing all of this, actually pitched it to US oil executives, which is weird because I thought apparently this was all about Venezuela's president drug trafficking. I mean, to be fair, Venezuela does have about 300 billion barrels of crude oil, so I get why the US would want it. But that's not all. As a fun bonus, Trump also warned Mexico, Cuba, and Colombia that they could be next. But then, out of nowhere, the guy completely pivoted and said he wants to buy Greenland now. Like, he could just add it to his cart on eBay or something. But then, he said scratch that, the military force is always an option too. So not like eBay, more like militaryconquest.com or something. And as if that's all not enough, this is all happening while Trump also just recently flipped off a guy in public, which 10 years ago would have been the controversy of the decade, but now it's just another Tuesday.
It's Tuesday, innit? Hello, governor, have you got a bowl of water?
And he said about the midterm elections, direct quote by the way, when you think of it, we shouldn't even have an election. So at this point, Trump has more mood swings than a teenager going through puberty. Alrighty, so now let's take a break from the Trump news, but this next one is a bit rough, and I mean genuinely deeply disturbing. So Elon Musk's AI chatbot, Grok, has an image editing feature that went public recently, and in late December and early January of this year, people started using it on the public domain to undress real people in real photos without their consent. And yes, unfortunately, this included minors. And this wasn't even in private accounts, even though that would have already been really bad, but this was on public, on social media, what Elon Musk himself calls the digital town square. And it's not even a small issue either. Researchers analyzed just 20,000 images, which for one of the biggest social media platforms is next to nothing. And they found that over half the pictures generated were people showed in minimal clothing like underwear, and 81% of these were women, and 2% of them appeared to be minors. And Grok itself admitted that there was lapses in safeguards in regards to sharing altered photos of minors. Elon Musk's response about this hasn't been apologetic. It's been ranging from defensive to, well, outright joking about it. And to make it even worse, XAI, Musk's company, sent an auto reply to all journalists asking for a comment that just said legacy media lies. So there's not even any accountability about this. And as a cherry on top, if we haven't learned anything about this so far, Grok, the same AI that's generating explicit images of minors, is wrong half the time and has a track record on multiple occasions of channeling its inner Hitler, will now be integrated into the Pentagon's network. Yeah, so we live in a train wreck of a society. And while we're talking about AI, Anthropic's Claude just became a lot more mainstream with their new co-work model, and now is apparently going to be taking over everybody's jobs. Like, I used Claude yesterday for the first time and my mind is blown. Like, it can now use your computer for you, work in Excel, automate tasks. It's basically AGI Lite, which is great timing for me personally, since I'm about to graduate and my entire career path now is pretty much all automated. So great, love that. It's gonna be so fun trying to get a job. Alright, so now this is the hardest part for me to talk about. Now, we all know about the situation with ICE and immigrants in the States, and I'm going to lay out the facts here that I have observed. Now, ICE officers have straight up been using police brutality and even killing people in public on streets. On January 7th, Renee Good, a 37-year-old US citizen, a writer, and a poet, was shot and killed by an ICE agent in Minneapolis. She was in her car. Video shows an agent walking around her vehicle and firing 3 shots as she tried to drive away. Federal officials said she tried to run over the agent, but video evidence contradicts that. On January 24th, Alex Purdy, a 37-year-old ICU nurse who cared for veterans, was shot and killed by Border Patrol agents also in Minneapolis. He was at a protest. Bystander videos shows him only holding his phone, shooting a woman who was just pepper sprayed by agents. At least 6 agents tackled him and pinned him face down, and then they shot him in the back multiple times. The government claims that he had a handgun and he attacked agents and violently resisted, but an internal government review later contradicted that. Once again, Homeland Security called him a domestic terrorist, and the worst part is the White House refuses to even release body cam footage even though they defend the killing. And there's so many more deaths and even more cases of brutality and outright disgusting acts by ICE officers documented. Every day I wake up, I open Twitter or Reddit or Instagram and I see so many videos that I don't even want to describe here because they're genuinely disturbing. And it shouldn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. Public executions, extrajudicial killings, authoritarian abuse, excessive use of force, it's not right. And this isn't just an American issue. If the best country in the world, the country that promises the American dream, can do this, it opens a lot more doors for the rest of the world and for a lot of countries to become outright military states. Anyways, moving on, quick economic update because I don't even have the energy to go deep into this. The US dollar is not doing great. It literally went down after Trump said he trusts it and it's going well. Silver, gold, and copper prices are going crazy. Yeah, so it's January 30th, 2026, and my portfolio's gone. That didn't age well. Anyways, back to the video. And normally I'm not one to talk much about this, but I find it interesting because certain economists, analysts, and investors are using this to say that the US currency will fail and gold is the next big currency, and I don't know about that one, but at the same time, these are unprecedented times that we are living in. Moreover, Iran's currency collapsed and the country's currently been overrun with protests for quite a few weeks now, and these protests are being violently cracked down upon by the government, and death tolls estimate from 6,000 to over 30,000, which is insane and very sad. Now, speaking about the economy, let's talk about the job market. So here's a quick rundown. Amazon just laid off 16,000 people a couple of days ago, and that is not even including other companies like Meta and Pinterest, which have also done layoffs this month. According to TrueUp's layoff tracker, this month had more layoffs compared to most months last year in 2025. And this is part of a larger trend of companies replacing human workers with AI, automation, efficiency, and also just cheaper outsourcing, which is cool, great for shareholders, but not so great for average people who, you know, are just trying to put food on the table at the end of the day. But yeah, if you're more interested about that, I got quite a few videos up about that on the channel. Go check them out. Oh yeah, and while all of this is happening, yeah, sure, it's probably the least of our problems right now, but Mother Nature pretty much remembered that global warming and climate change exists and said screw you to the East Coast and dropped record-breaking snow. Why can't we just live in a normal world? Like, the start of January was apparently unreasonably warm, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's insanely cold and insanely snowy. So climate's doing great, totally fine, nothing concerning here. So yeah, that was January 2026, a month where the US is invading countries that it just wants now. AI is creating explicit images of minors and facing almost zero consequences. America is basically becoming a military state. AI is taking over more jobs and the economy is already in shambles. And climate change is wilding. You know, every day I wake up and I think I wish we could go back to a normal world. But at this point, I don't even know what a normal world is anymore. So if you found this recap interesting or deeply depressing like me, let me know in the comments down below. I genuinely love to hear what you guys think about all of this, and if you really liked it, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. It helps quite a bit. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Assuming the world doesn't descend into chaos or something by then. Anyways, see you in the next one.